Hi, I'm Kelsey Salter, and today I'm going to be talking about how to effectively close out your presentations. One of the things I have struggled with in the past is rushing through the close and just ending too abruptly. I will state all my information completely fine, but somehow I always end up just stopping, and it feels awkward and uncomfortable for everyone. My goal of this presentation is to share with you some of the tricks I found beneficial to closing a presentation in the best way possible. The first thing that I think about is making your closing memorable. It is going to be the last thing you leave with the audience, so it is important you make a lasting impression on them. You also want to make some sort of connection with the audience so it resonates with them well. It helps if you know your audience well beforehand. For example, if you're giving a speech to kids, your closing would not be the same as if you were giving a speech to adults. It also helps if you leave them with a leave behind. Giving them something at the end of your presentations gives them a visual to look at and also keeps them engaged to close out your presentation. The next thing I find helpful is to let your audience know when you're about to finish. This helps prepare them for the ending instead of them wondering when it's going to be the end and then being caught off guard when you stop out of nowhere. There are a couple ways you can do this as well. You can show them you're about to end by saying, "To close my presentation," or "To wrap up," and then state your final words. It also helps if you split your presentation into your main points. It makes it easier to organize so you can retouch on them in your closing. This is also very useful for the leave behind that I talked about earlier. If you put your main points on your leave behind and give it to them while you are closing, it is going to stick with them longer because they have a hard copy. I usually split my presentation up into about 3 to 5 parts depending on what I'm talking about, and I always state the main points before and after I give my speech. This helps the audience know what is important and what they were supposed to take away from your presentation. The last thing that I find helpful is knowing how to deal with questions. At the end of your presentation, you never want to ask, "Do you have any questions?" You always want to ask them, "What questions do you have?" This makes the audience think of more questions because if you just ask them if they have any questions, they will most likely not ask you any because you gave them the option not to. It is good when the audience has questions because it means they were engaged and interested in your topic. This being said, once they do ask you questions, you need to give them well-thought-out answers. If you don't, they most likely will not have a good final thought about your speech because you didn't put effort into answering their questions. Asking the audience members if you have fully answered their questions will help eliminate this problem, clear up any confusion they may have. When I was looking at ways to close a presentation, I found that there were many good ways to accomplish a good closing using different techniques. Some of the ways people closed out their presentations is by telling a compelling story. Stories always resonate with people and is a good way to leave your audience with something they will remember. Another thing I have seen is a call to action. This works really well when you are trying to get the audience to do something. A call to action usually includes something powerful and inspires the audience members to act on what they talked about in your speech. The last thing that I saw worked really well was quotes. Quotes that are short and simple seem to stay with people and wrap up your speech in a quick and lasting way. If you're struggling with finding a way to wrap up your presentation, any of these techniques are easy to accomplish and would work out perfectly fine. I am now coming to an end in my presentation. I have helped you in some way with closing your speech because your last words are going to be the first words your audience remembers when thinking back on your presentation. Thank you.